The average American spends over $1,000 a year on stress relief apps, supplements, and therapy copays, yet our anxiety levels keep climbing. Meanwhile, the average Japanese person spends almost nothing on these things and reports a fraction of our stress. And a big part of that equation happens every single evening in a simple tub of hot water. We are the most stressed out population in the industrialized world. We pop pills, we doom scroll. We pay strangers to listen to our problems for 50 minutes a week. And we are still white-knuckling our way through traffic and tossing and turning at 3 in the morning. Japan has one of the highest life expectancies on the planet, a fraction of our heart disease rates, and a culture that treats bathing not as a quick hygiene task, but as a sacred medical intervention. I decided to stop reading about it and actually do it. For 30 days straight, I abandoned my rushed morning shower and adopted the full Japanese bathing ritual every single night. What happened to my sleep, my stress hormones, and my resting heart rate was so dramatic that I will never go back. Today, I am going to walk you through the exact ritual, the science that explains why it works like a tranquilizer for your nervous system, and the 10 specific habits that turned my bathtub into the most powerful stress management tool I have ever used. These habits range from the deceptively simple to the genuinely genius, and by the end of this countdown, you will understand why the Japanese bath is not about getting clean. It is about rewiring your brain for calm. Let us start with habit number 10. Habit number 10. The sacred separation of wash and soak. In the West, we have a deeply unhygienic habit that we never question. We step into a shower or a bath. We scrub the dirt and sweat and dead skin off our bodies. And we let all of that filth swirl around in the water we are sitting in. You are literally marinating in the residue of your day, the sweat from your commute, the dead skin cells that have been flaking off your arms since lunch, the invisible layer of exhaust and dust that settles on every city dweller. We never think about it because we have never known any other way. The Japanese approach is so shockingly obvious that it feels like a revelation. You never, ever enter the bathwater with a dirty body. The soaking tub is a sanctuary, and you only enter it once you are completely clean. The ritual begins outside the tub. You sit on a small stool, often with a handheld shower head and a bucket, and you meticulously wash every inch of your body with soap and a washcloth. You rinse thoroughly, you wash your hair, you rinse again, and only when there is not a single trace of soap or skin cell left on you do you slide into the impossibly hot water waiting in the tub. This is not a preference. It is a cultural rule enforced in every sento, or public bathhouse, across the country. I remember stepping into my first sento in a quiet neighborhood in Kyoto about 6 years ago. I was jet-lagged, disoriented, and I had no idea what I was doing. I walked past the rows of shoes in the Genkin, paid my few hundred yen at the front desk, and pushed open the door to the bathing area. What I saw stopped me in my tracks. A row of elderly women were sitting on tiny plastic stools in front of individual shower stations, methodically scrubbing their arms, their legs, their necks, their feet. They were using long-handled brushes to reach their backs. They were washing behind their ears, with the focus of a surgeon preparing for an operation. Not a single one of them was in the large, steaming communal tub yet. I stood there in my towel, suddenly deeply self-conscious about every rushed, half-hearted shower I had ever taken in my life. I found an empty stool, sat down, and spent the next 15 minutes washing myself more thoroughly than I had ever washed before. When I finally stepped into that communal bath, the water was so clear I could see the tiles at the bottom. I realized in that moment that every bath I had ever taken at home was essentially a weak soup of my own filth. The psychological shift was immediate. The act of washing became a preparatory ritual, a signal to my brain that something important was about to happen. And when I finally lowered myself into that perfectly clean, clear water, it felt less like bathing and more like entering a temple. The science behind this separation goes beyond cleanliness. A 2021 study from the University of Tokyo's Department of Public Health examined bathing habits in over 14,000 older adults and found that those who bathed in a tub, as opposed to taking a quick shower, had a significantly lower risk of cardiovascular disease and reported higher scores on mental health indices. But the key finding was about frequency and ritual. The protective effect was strongest in those who bathed almost daily in a consistent, ritualized manner. The wash and soak separation enforces a slowness that is missing from our frantic morning scrubs. You cannot rush this. You cannot skip steps. You have to sit on that stool and attend to every part of your body. You have to feel the texture of the washcloth against your skin. You have to notice the temperature of the water as it runs down your back. By the time you have washed, rinsed, and prepared yourself, your heart rate has already begun to drop, and you have not even touched the hot water yet. This is the hidden genius of the ritual. The relaxation does not start when you enter the tub. It starts the moment you sit down on that stool and give yourself permission to slow down. Try this tonight. Before you get anywhere near your bath, wash yourself completely outside the tub. Use a bucket and a washcloth if you want the full experience, or just use your detachable shower head while sitting on the edge of the tub. Treat the pre-wash as a separate, non-negotiable phase of the evening. You will immediately notice that the soak itself feels more luxurious, more intentional, and more deeply relaxing than any bath you have ever taken before. Habit number 9. The temperature must be almost uncomfortably hot. This was the hardest part for me. I like a warm, cozy bath. I want to slip in gently and not feel any shock to my system. My entire life, I have been the person who turns the bath tap to a pleasant, tepid warmth and then adds a little cold water just to be safe. The Japanese bath, or afuro, is typically kept between 40 and 42 degrees Celsius, which is about 104 to 108 degrees Fahrenheit. The first time I stuck my foot into water that hot, I genuinely thought I had made a mistake. I had filled the tub to the brim, following the instructions I had read, and when I tested the water with my toe, it felt like a dare. The heat shot up my leg like an alarm bell. I stood there with one leg in and one leg out, hovering awkwardly, convinced I was about to scald myself. My brain was screaming at me to add cold water, to make this comfortable, to not be an idiot. But I committed. I lowered myself in slowly, inch by inch, breathing through the initial shock. And within about 90 seconds, something extraordinary happened. My muscles, which I had not even realized were clenched, simply gave up. They surrendered. My shoulders, which I had been holding tight somewhere up around my ears for what felt like years, dropped. My jaw, which I clenched constantly without noticing, went slack. My lower back, which always aches from sitting at a desk, released a tension I had assumed was permanent. The heat was so penetrating that my body stopped fighting it and entered a state of deep, passive relaxation that I had only ever achieved before after a 90-minute massage. There is a physiological reason for this. When you immerse yourself in water above your core body temperature, your blood vessels dilate rapidly. This process, called vasodilation, increases blood flow to your muscles and skin, flushing out metabolic waste products like lactate that accumulate during the day from stress-induced muscle tension. Your muscles are constantly contracting in response to stress, even when you are sitting still. Your shoulders tighten when you read an angry email. Your jaw clenches when you sit in traffic. Your lower back seizes up when you worry about money. This tension becomes chronic, and your muscles literally forget how to fully relax. The extreme heat of the afuro forces them to let go. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Physiological Anthropology by researchers from Kyushu University, found that immersion in water at 41 degrees Celsius significantly increased blood flow to the brain and decreased levels of the stress hormone cortisol more effectively than immersion at 37 degrees. The hotter water triggered a more robust parasympathetic nervous system response, which is the branch of your nervous system responsible for rest, digestion, and recovery. The cooler water simply did not produce the same effect. The Western fear of hot water is misguided. We worry about passing out or overheating. But the Japanese have been doing this for centuries, and their bodies have not melted. The key is to enter slowly, breathe deeply, and limit your initial soak to about 5 to 8 minutes. Your body will adapt, and by the end of the first week, you will crave that intense heat the way you might crave a deep tissue massage. Set your water heater to at least 104 degrees tonight. It will feel too hot for the first 60 seconds. Your skin will protest. Your mind will tell you to get out, push through. Your nervous system will thank you, and within 2 minutes, you will feel your entire body exhale in a way it has not exhaled in years. Habit number 8. The silent soak with no distractions. Americans cannot be alone with their thoughts for 30 seconds without reaching for a podcast or a Netflix show. We bring our phones into the bathroom. We prop up tablets on the toilet tank. We scrub ourselves while half listening to a true crime documentary. We have turned every moment of potential stillness into an opportunity for more input, more noise, more stimulation. The Japanese ofuro is a screen-free zone. There is no music, no video, no scrolling. There is just you, the water, and the steam rising into the quiet air. When I first tried this, I lasted about 2 minutes before my hand started twitching toward my phone on the bath mat. The silence felt unbearable. My brain was screaming for stimulation, for a dopamine hit, for anything to distract me from the uncomfortable sensation of being alone with my own thoughts. I could hear my own heartbeat. I could hear the faint drip of the faucet. I could hear the refrigerator humming 2 rooms away. Every tiny sound felt amplified, and my mind kept trying to fill the void with mental chatter, with to-do lists, with replays of conversations I had had earlier that day. But I forced myself to stay. I put my phone in the bedroom and closed the bathroom door. By day 4, something shifted. The silence stopped feeling like deprivation and started feeling like relief. By day 10, I was craving it. The 20 minutes I spent in that hot, quiet water became the only time all day when no one could reach me, no notification could ping me, and no demand could be placed on my attention. I started to notice things I had never noticed before. The way the steam curled in the air. The way the water rippled when I breathed. The way my thoughts, when given no external input, eventually slowed down and became less frantic. It was like my brain was a snow globe that had been shaken all day, and the silence was letting the snow settle. The neurological benefit of this silence is well documented. A 2013 study from Duke University found that periods of intentional silence actually promoted the growth of new neurons in the hippocampus, the region of the brain associated with memory and emotional regulation. Constant noise and input keeps your brain in a state of low-grade threat detection, always scanning for the next piece of information. Your brain was not designed to process the volume of data we throw at it every day. Every notification, every headline, every email, every snippet of audio fires a small stress response, and over time, this accumulates into a baseline of anxiety that we have normalized. Silence allows the default mode network of your brain to activate, which is essential for processing emotions, consolidating memories, and generating creative insights. This is why your best ideas come in the shower. It is one of the only times your brain is not being bombarded. The Japanese understood this long before neuroscientists measured it. The ofuro is a sensory deprivation chamber disguised as a bathtub. The heat relaxes your body, the silence quiets your mind, and the combination creates a meditative state that is far easier to access than sitting cross-legged on a cushion trying to empty your thoughts. I have tried meditation many times. I have downloaded the apps, I have sat on the cushions, I have listened to the guided breathing exercises. I always quit after a week because my mind would not cooperate. The bath was different, the heat did the work for me. My body was so relaxed that my mind had no choice but to follow. Leave your phone in the other room tonight. Do not bring a book, do not put on music. Do not try to be productive with your relaxation. Sit in the hot water and let your brain do nothing. The first few minutes will be hard. You will feel bored, restless, maybe even anxious. That is exactly the point. You are detoxing from constant stimulation, and the discomfort is proof that you need this more than you realize. Habit number 7. The post-bath cooling period. This was the habit that surprised me the most because it seems counterintuitive. After spending 20 minutes heating your body to its core, the Japanese ritual does not end with you bundling up in a warm robe and crawling straight into bed. It ends with you sitting, often in a cool room or even outside on a balcony or a porch, allowing your body to naturally cool down over the course of 10 to 15 minutes. The first time I tried this, I was shivering within 60 seconds. I had just emerged from water so hot that my skin was pink and steaming, and now I was standing in my bathroom with the window cracked open, letting the winter air hit my damp shoulders. It felt absurd. My instinct was to grab a towel, wrap myself up, and dive under the covers. But I resisted. I stood there in the cool air, dripping slightly, feeling the heat radiate off my skin in visible waves of steam. And then something remarkable happened. About 5 minutes into the cooling period, a wave of profound, almost narcotic sleepiness washed over me. My eyelids got heavy, my thoughts slowed to a crawl, and I felt a deep, bone-level relaxation that I had never experienced before bedtime in my entire adult life. I was not just sleepy. I was being pulled into sleep by a force that felt biological and unstoppable. I barely made it to my bed before I was unconscious. This is not folk wisdom. It is thermodynamics and neurobiology working in concert. When you heat your body in the bath, your core temperature actually rises. Your blood vessels dilate, your skin flushes, and your internal thermostat gets pushed up a degree or two. But when you exit and begin to cool, your body triggers a rapid drop in core temperature, which is the exact same physiological signal that initiates sleep. Your body naturally cools itself by about 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit in the hours leading up to sleep. This is part of your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that tells you when to be awake and when to be asleep. By artificially amplifying this cooling curve, you are essentially hacking your own sleep onset system. You are giving your body a signal so strong that it cannot ignore it. A 2019 meta-analysis published in the journal Sleep Medicine Reviews examined over 5,000 studies on passive body heating and sleep. The researchers concluded that a warm bath or shower taken 1 to 2 hours before bedtime, followed by a cooling period, significantly shortened the time it took to fall asleep and increased the amount of deep, slow wave sleep. The optimal timing was about 90 minutes before bed, allowing for the full heating and cooling cycle to complete. The Japanese have been doing this intuitively for generations. They do not rush from the bath to the bed. They sit, they cool, they let their body temperature drift downward, and then they slide into their futon already half asleep. I started timing my baths so that I would finish my cooling period about 30 minutes before I wanted to be asleep. The results were so consistent that I stopped setting an alarm. I knew that within 10 minutes of lying down, I would be gone. After your soak tonight, do not immediately put on heavy pajamas or bury yourself under blankets. Sit in a cool room for 10 minutes. Let your body breathe. Let the heat escape. You will feel the sleep wave hit you like a freight train. And when your head hits the pillow, you will be unconscious within minutes. Habit number 6. The bathing before bed, not in the morning. This was the single hardest habit for me to adopt, because it required completely restructuring my identity. I have been a morning shower person my entire life. I believed, with religious conviction, that I could not wake up without hot water hitting my face. The morning shower was my coffee before coffee. It was the ritual that told my brain the day had started. The idea of going to work without a morning shower felt unhygienic, lazy, and frankly impossible. I had images of myself sitting at my desk, unshowered, greasy, secretly disgusting to everyone around me. But I looked at the data. In Japan, the vast majority of people bathe at night. The morning shower is a rarity, reserved mostly for teenagers who overslept or foreigners who have not yet adapted. The logic is simple. You accumulate the dirt and sweat and stress of the day on your body. Why would you take that into your bed with you? Think about what you are doing when you shower only in the morning. You are spending the entire day collecting pollution, sweat, bacteria, and grime on your skin. You are sitting on public transportation, touching door handles, walking through parking lots, and then you are bringing all of that into your bed at night. You are sleeping on sheets that absorb 8 hours of urban residue, and then you wake up to wash it off. It makes far more sense to enter your bed completely clean, having washed away the day, and then simply wake up and go. Your sheets stay cleaner, your skin stays clearer. Your bed becomes a clean sanctuary instead of a repository for the day's filth. The stress reduction implications of this shift were more profound than I expected. When you shower in the morning, you are starting your day with a task. You are already rushing, already thinking about the clock, already scrubbing yourself while mentally rehearsing your 9 a.m. meeting. The morning shower is a functional chore. It is something you do quickly, efficiently, with one eye on the time. The evening bath is a ritual of release. It draws a hard boundary between the demands of the day and the sanctuary of the night. It says to your brain the work is done, the performance is over, you are now allowed to rest. A 2020 study from the Tokyo Medical and Dental University tracked cortisol levels in 2 groups of participants, one that bathed in the morning and one that bathed at night. The night bathing group showed a significantly steeper decline in evening cortisol, indicating a more robust transition into the parasympathetic rest state. The morning group actually showed a cortisol spike after bathing, which is helpful for waking up but counterproductive if you are already struggling with chronic stress and anxiety. Cortisol is supposed to be high in the morning and low at night. It is your body's natural alarm clock. Chronically stressed people often have a flattened cortisol curve, meaning it stays elevated all day and never drops enough for restful sleep. You go to bed with your nervous system still in fight or flight mode, and you wonder why you lie awake for hours with your mind racing. The evening bath helps restore that natural rhythm. It forces the cortisol down. It tells your body that the danger has passed and it is safe to sleep. I switched to night bathing on day 1 of this experiment. The first 3 mornings felt strange. I splashed cold water on my face, I used a washcloth to freshen up, and I went about my day. I felt slightly naked, slightly incomplete, like I had forgotten to put on a piece of clothing. But by day 4, I realized I did not miss the morning shower at all. I was sleeping so deeply that I woke up feeling cleaner and more refreshed than I ever had after a rushed 7-minute scrub under fluorescent bathroom lights. My skin actually looked better because I was not stripping it of oils twice a day. My hair was less greasy because I was not overwashing it. And my mornings suddenly had an extra 20 minutes in them. Time I used to actually eat breakfast instead of grabbing a granola bar on the way out the door. Try it for 1 week. Bathe at night, not in the morning. Let the hot water wash the day off your skin and out of your nervous system. You will sleep better, you will wake up feeling cleaner, and you will never want to bring the city into your bed again. Habit number 5. The use of magnesium-rich bath salts. The Japanese have been bathing in mineral-rich hot springs, called onsen, for thousands of years. These natural volcanic waters are loaded with magnesium, calcium, sodium, and sulfur compounds that are absorbed through the skin during prolonged soaking. I have visited several onsen in Japan, and the feeling of emerging from those waters is unlike anything else. Your skin feels soft and silky, your muscles feel loose and heavy, and a deep sense of well-being settles over you that lasts for hours. I could not fly to a volcanic hot spring in rural Nagano every night, so I did the next best thing. I bought a bag of pure magnesium chloride flakes and started adding 2 cups to every bath. The first thing I noticed was how the water felt different. It felt silkier, softer, almost oily in a pleasant way. The second thing I noticed was the smell, or rather the lack of it. Magnesium chloride is odorless, so there was no perfumed, artificial spa scent. Just clean, mineral-rich water. The effect was immediate and undeniable. Within the first 3 nights, I noticed that my muscles were staying relaxed long after I got out of the bath. Normally, I carry tension in my shoulders and jaw. I grind my teeth at night. I wake up with a clenched fist and a sore neck. My dentist had told me years ago that I had signs of severe bruxism, and she recommended a night guard that I never got around to buying. By the end of the first week of magnesium baths, my jaw was loose when I woke up. My shoulders were not bunched up around my ears. My partner told me I had stopped grinding my teeth entirely, something that had plagued me for years. I would wake up and my face felt relaxed, my temples were not sore, and the chronic tightness at the base of my skull had diminished to a faint whisper. The science on transdermal magnesium absorption is still debated, but the evidence is mounting. A 2017 study from the University of Birmingham in the United Kingdom found that magnesium ions can indeed penetrate the skin, particularly when exposure is prolonged and the water is warm, which opens the pores and increases skin permeability. Magnesium is a critical mineral for over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, and it plays a central role in regulating the nervous system. It binds to GABA receptors in the brain, the same receptors targeted by anti-anxiety medications like benzodiazepines. It also acts as a natural calcium channel blocker, preventing excessive calcium from flooding into nerve cells and causing the hyperexcitability that manifests as anxiety, muscle tension, and insomnia. Think of magnesium as the brake pedal for your nervous system. Without enough of it, your brain gets stuck in an excited, overactive state. The average American is magnesium deficient due to depleted soils and processed food diets. We eat vegetables grown in mineral-poor soil. We drink filtered water that has had the magnesium removed, and we consume vast quantities of processed foods that contain almost no magnesium at all. The Japanese diet is rich in magnesium from seaweed, fish, and fermented soy, but they still supplement through bathing. The onsen culture is essentially a population-wide magnesium supplementation program delivered through leisure. You do not need a volcanic spring. You need a $10 bag of magnesium chloride flakes from any health store. Add 2 cups to your bath tonight. Make sure the water is hot enough to open your pores. Soak for at least 20 minutes. If you are like me, you will notice the muscle relaxation within the first few nights, and the deeper sleep will follow shortly after. A word of caution here. Start with a smaller amount if you have sensitive skin. Magnesium chloride can cause a slight tingling or itching sensation in some people, especially if you have cuts or recently shaved. This is not dangerous, but it can be uncomfortable. Start with half a cup and work your way up. Your body will adjust. Habit number 4. The family bathing order and the reverence for shared water. This habit was the most culturally alien to me, and it took me a while to understand its psychological power. In a traditional Japanese household, the bathwater is shared. The same hot water is used by every member of the family, one after the other. Because, as we established in Habit 10, everyone is completely clean before they enter the tub. The water remains pure. The father might bathe first, then the mother, then the children, often in order of age or hierarchy. To a Westerner, this sounds unhygienic. We are deeply individualistic about our bathwater. The idea of sharing it feels like wearing someone else's underwear. We want our own water, our own space, our own private experience. But when I thought about it more deeply, I realized this practice is not about conserving water, though it does that. It is about a shared ritual that connects the family through a single vessel of warmth. The water becomes a thread that links each member of the household. You are not just bathing. You are participating in a family ritual that has been practiced for generations. I live alone, so I could not replicate the family bathing order exactly, but I did something adjacent that changed my relationship to the bath itself. I started treating the bathwater as sacred. Instead of draining the tub immediately after I got out, I left the water there. I let it cool. In the morning, I would look at the still water and remember the calm of the night before. It served as a visual anchor, a reminder that the stress of yesterday had been dissolved and left behind in that water. It was a physical record of the release I had experienced. When I visited a friend in Tokyo a few years ago, I watched her family perform this ritual, and I saw something I had never seen in an American home. The father emerged from the bath relaxed and quiet. He nodded to the mother, who was waiting with a towel, and she went in next. The children sat patiently in the living room, doing homework, waiting for their turn. There was no fighting, no rushing, no one yelling that someone was taking too long. The bath was the center of the evening, a shared experience that connected them even though they bathed separately. I asked my friend about it later, and she told me that when she was a child, the bath was the only time she felt truly connected to her busy father. He would emerge from the bath calm and present, and he would help her with her homework while she waited for her turn. The warmth of the water had softened him, and the ritual of sharing it had created a bond that she still feels when she visits her parents today. A 2022 survey by the Japanese government's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare found that over 70% of Japanese households with children still practice shared bathing order, and those families reported higher levels of familial cohesion and lower levels of childhood stress than families who did not. The bath is not just a place to get clean. It is a place where the family unit is symbolically and literally immersed in the same warmth, sharing a resource, respecting the order, and ending the day together. If you live with family or a partner, consider trying this. You will be shocked at how the simple act of sharing bathwater transforms the evening from parallel solo time into a connected family ritual. The water holds the warmth of the person who came before you, and there is something deeply comforting about that. Habit number 3. The cold water rinse at the very end. Just when I thought I understood the Japanese bath, I discovered that many traditionalists end their soak with a brief, bracing rinse of cold water. Not a long, miserable cold plunge. Just a few seconds, maybe 30 at most, of cool or cold water poured over the head and shoulders before stepping out of the tub. The first time I tried this, I gasped so loudly my neighbor probably heard me. After 20 minutes in 105-degree water, dumping a bucket of cold water over my head felt like an electric shock. The cold hit my scalp and raced down my spine, and for a split second, my entire body went rigid with the shock of it. But the sensation that followed was extraordinary. A wave of alert calm washed over me. My mind, which had been drifting in a heat-induced fog, suddenly became crystal clear. I felt simultaneously deeply relaxed and completely awake, a combination I had never experienced before. It was like my brain had been wiped clean. The mental chatter that had been slowly quieting during the soak was now completely silent, replaced by a sharp, bright clarity. I could think clearly. I could feel my own heartbeat. I was present in a way I rarely am during my normal waking hours. This practice has roots in the Japanese tradition of Mizugori, a Shinto purification ritual that involves standing under freezing waterfalls. Monks and practitioners stand beneath cascading ice-cold water as a form of spiritual cleansing and mental discipline. But you do not need a waterfall. You just need a few seconds of cold water at the end of your bath. The physiological mechanism is straightforward. The cold water triggers a massive release of norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter and hormone that plays a key role in focus, attention, and mood regulation. A 2008 study from the University of Chicago found that cold exposure increased norepinephrine levels by 200 to 300%, an effect that lasted for hours after the exposure ended. Norepinephrine also has anti-inflammatory properties, and chronically low levels are associated with depression and brain fog. By ending your bath with a cold shock, you are essentially giving your brain a targeted dose of a natural antidepressant and cognitive enhancer. The Japanese do not frame it in these biochemical terms. They talk about it as a practice of mental clarity, a way to finish the bath with a sharp mind and a refreshed spirit. The cold rinse also closes the pores that the hot water opened, which is good for your skin, but the mental benefit is the real prize. After your hot soak tonight, fill a small bucket with cool water. Pour it slowly over the top of your head and let it run down your back. Breathe through the shock. Do not tense up against it. Let the cold wash over you and accept it. Within 30 seconds, you will feel a clarity and calm that no cup of coffee or meditation app has ever delivered. It is the perfect ending to the ritual, a final signal to your brain that the transition is complete. Habit number 2, the bathing every single day, no exceptions. This is where the Western mind pushes back. We see bathing as a luxury, a treat, something we do on Sunday evenings when we have extra time. We tell ourselves we are too busy, too tired, too overwhelmed to spend 30 minutes in a bathtub every night. The Japanese see it as a non-negotiable daily practice, as essential as eating dinner or brushing your teeth. A 2023 survey by the Japan Bathing Culture Association found that over 80% of Japanese people bathe in a tub at least once a day. And over 60% say they would feel physically and mentally unwell if they skipped it. The daily consistency is the key that unlocks the cumulative benefits. You cannot soak once a week and expect your nervous system to rewire itself. You cannot do this sporadically and hope to lower your baseline cortisol. The daily bath is a training program for your parasympathetic nervous system, and like any training program, frequency matters more than intensity. One intense workout once a month will not make you fit. One intense bath once a week will not rewire your stress response. Your nervous system learns through repetition. Every night you bathe, you are teaching your body that it is safe to relax. Every night you skip, you are reinforcing the old pattern of chronic tension. When I committed to 30 days straight, I was worried about the time commitment. I have a busy life. I have deadlines and responsibilities and a phone that never stops buzzing. The idea of carving out 30 minutes every single night felt impossible. But I quickly realized that the bath was not taking time away from my evening. It was giving me time back. The 20 or 30 minutes I spent in the water replaced the 45 minutes I used to spend scrolling social media in bed, unable to fall asleep. It replaced the 20 minutes I spent lying awake at 3 a.m. with my heart pounding for no reason. It replaced the hour I lost every morning to grogginess and brain fog because my sleep quality had been so poor. The bath created time by improving my sleep efficiency and reducing my waking hours of anxiety-induced paralysis. I was falling asleep faster, staying asleep longer, and waking up feeling actually rested. That extra hour of quality sleep gave me more energy and focus during the day, which made me more productive, which freed up more time in the evening. The bath was not a time cost. It was a time investment that paid dividends every single day. A 2020 study from the Nara Medical University in Japan tracked daily bathing habits in a cohort of over 30,000 adults over a period of 10 years. The researchers found that daily tub bathing was associated with a 28% lower risk of cardiovascular disease and a 26% lower risk of stroke, even after controlling for diet, exercise, and smoking status. The protective effect was dose-dependent. The more frequently people bathed, the lower their risk. The daily habit is not an indulgence. It is a medical intervention hiding in plain sight. I am now on day 63 of daily bathing, and I have no intention of stopping. The person who thought they did not have time to bathe every day was a person who did not understand how much time chronic stress was stealing from them. Make the commitment tonight. 30 days every single evening, no excuses. No skipping because you are tired. Especially do not skip because you are tired. That is when you need it most. Your nervous system will adapt, your sleep will transform, and you will wonder how you ever lived any other way. Habit number 1. The mental framing of the bath as a sacred transition, not a hygiene task. This is the habit that underlies all the others, and it is the most important thing I learned in 30 days. In the West, we bathe to get clean. That is the beginning and the end of it. We step into the shower, we scrub off the dirt, we step out, and we move on with our day. The bath is a chore, a box to check, a maintenance task for the body. It is on the same mental list as taking out the trash or folding laundry. In Japan, the bath is a spiritual transition. It is the ritual that separates the chaos and contamination of the outside world from the peace and purity of the home. It is the moment when you shed your public self and become your private self. This is why the jenkin, the entryway of a Japanese home where you remove your shoes, is so important. The shoes carry the dirt of the world. You leave them at the threshold. The bath is the jenkin of the body. You leave the stress, the grime, the social performance, and the anxiety of the day in the water, and you emerge clean not just in body but in mind. You are not washing off dirt. You are washing off the person you had to be all day so that you can be yourself again. I did not understand this until about day 20. I had been going through the motions, checking off the habits, feeling the physical benefits, but something was missing. The baths were relaxing, but they still felt like a task I was performing. Then one night, after a particularly brutal day of work, I lowered myself into the hot water and I consciously said to myself, I am leaving this day behind. This water is taking it. I am not bringing any of this into my sleep. And something cracked open in my chest. I sat there in the silence and the heat, and I let the day drain out of me. I pictured every frustration, every tense conversation, every moment of self-doubt, every worry about the future, and I imagined them dissolving into the water like salt. I let myself feel the full weight of what I had been carrying, and then I let it go. When I emerged and did my cooling period and my cold rinse, I felt like a different person. The stress had not just been managed, it had been released. It was gone. The next morning, I woke up without the usual dread. The problems from the day before were still there, but they did not own me anymore. I had given them to the water and the water had taken them. This is not magic. It is the psychological principle of ritual cleansing, which has been studied extensively. A 2015 study from the University of Toronto published in the journal Psychological Science found that physical cleansing rituals, like hand washing or bathing, actually reduce the psychological impact of negative experiences. Participants who washed their hands after recalling a past failure or moral transgression showed lower levels of guilt, regret, and rumination than those who did not. The researchers called this the Macbeth effect, after Lady Macbeth's compulsive hand washing. The Japanese ofuro is a daily Macbeth effect performed proactively. You do not wait for the guilt and stress to build up until you are drowning in it. You wash it away every single night before it can take root in your subconscious. You enter the water carrying the weight of the world, and you leave it behind when you step out. The water becomes a vessel for everything you do not want to carry into your sleep and into your next day. It is a daily reset, a chance to start fresh every single morning. This is the habit you must adopt before any of the others will work. You must stop seeing the bath as a chore and start seeing it as a sacred transition. The water is not just H2O. It is the boundary between your stressed, public performing self and your calm, private, authentic self. When you step into that tub tonight, say it to yourself. I am leaving this day behind. This water is taking it. I will not carry it into my sleep and then let it go. Feel the heat pull the tension out of your muscles. Feel the silence quiet the noise in your head. Feel the boundary form between the day that is over and the night that is yours. This is the Japanese bath. This is why they live longer, sleep deeper, and walk through the world with a calm that we have forgotten how to access. And this is now yours. You just have to get in the water.